Good evening and welcome to tonight's Shocker Family Table Talk. I'm excited about this topic today. As a first generation student myself, that's the topic of the evening. We're going to be talking about maybe things that you might not be familiar with as parents. Maybe if we have students on the line, maybe sharing some information about what being first generation means on our campus and what kinds of things are available for you. I know sometimes on these calls, we've got a mix of our parents and our students. So we welcome you all in for tonight's topic. This is our next to last, we're almost at the end of the summer, which is a little hard to believe on our campus. It's coming quick, fall semester. And lots of people are getting lots of things in order to welcome all of our new students and our families. So I know we have a mix of parents on the line as well. Some of you may have attended college before. Maybe some of you have had some college experience, and some of you may have not had any college experience. And so tonight we're going to kind of untangle what all that means and talk you through the process and some of the resources and folks that we have on campus here to support your student as a first generation student. So I also know that I've met many of you, even though I can't see any of you right now. I know I've met many of you over the course of the summer through orientation or maybe in past years for orientation. Welcome you back in. And if you're new, welcome to Shocker Family Table Talks. If you're curious about what these programs are about, we have a number of topics that we have recorded sessions on. We're bringing experts to you and talking about topics that are of particular interest of our new students at this point of the year, or incoming students at this time of the summer. Hopefully some topics that you all are talking about around your dinner tables. If you have the luxury of eating dinners together as a family. I know that's tough sometimes in my house to get everybody around the table, but hopefully you're having some of these conversations, whether it's over the dinner table or as you're passing by, going to work or coming home, or, doing your family thing. So before or to get started, I'm going to throw it over to Dr. Bobby Berry, who is our featured speaker this evening, to really talk about some of the work that we do on campus to make sure that our first-gen students feel seen and heard and connected and supported in all the ways that we do. So I'm going to pass it on over to Dr. Bobby Berry, and we'll join in a little bit later. Go for it, Bobby.
Thank you so much, Kim. I think guys appreciate the invitation, being able to talk to you all about what we do here at Wichita State to support our first-gen students. First, I do want to say welcome and thank you for trusting us with your students here at Wichita State University. We truly appreciate that and take that as an honor. So a little bit about Wichita State, who I am, what I do. So once again, as Kim had mentioned, my name is Bobby Berry, and I have a pleasure of working here at Wichita State specifically in multiple capacities. One as an assistant dean for the College of Applied Studies. Additionally, have a teaching appointment there as well as an assistant professor for the Department of Sport Management. But what is most relevant here on this call is I am the chair of our First Generation Coordinating Council, right? And with the First Generation Coordinating Council, this council started back in August of 2018. I've been on the council since inception. And as a first generation college student myself, Wichita State being the institution that I have attended for all of my degrees. So being on this campus since 2007 in some capacity, and seeing it as from a student lens and as a faculty member, as an administrator, and really wanted to create this particular council as a way to think about awareness and thinking about promoting research, mentorship, and all the ways that we can truly support first-gen students here at Wichita State University. And as of spring 2023, 45% of our undergraduate students identified as first-gen. 20% of our graduate students identify as first-gen. So when you think about that amount of students on our campus, that's almost half of our undergraduate students. So when we talk about that being a fabric of who we are here at Wichita State, we truly mean that. Thinking about how can we best support our students from all perspectives, both socially and academically, is a prime focus for this group. So when you think about the council's work here, it's really about creating awareness related to the needs and success of our special population. Before this council, first gen was a term that I think many were afraid to really talk about. It was really nice to see over the last few years, especially, how many students were truly being able to understand what first gen meant, and we started to breathe life into first gen, and being able to build a sense of community, both amongst our working professionals on this campus and our student body. Additionally, wanted to find a way to encourage involvement and support of faculty and staff. And so one of the really cool things I love that we did here is we created and branded our first gen t-shirts, and we have presence at the orientation to be able to see our students. Another thing that I think is really cool here is we even have found a way to build that community amongst our faculty and staff by engaging them as first gen professionals on our campus in a different way. November 8th, for some of you who may not know, that's National First Gen Day. And here on our campus, we take that time to celebrate the entire weekend. Now we've kind of expanded to more of a celebrating all month long, where each college has been able to take ownership in how they want to celebrate and uplift their first gen students. And then the third piece here is reviewing data and outcomes in order to make recommendations, really thinking about change that leads to a better experience and the outcomes for our students. Most recently, especially this last year, we've been having a lot of robust conversation on retention, equity gaps, and how do we close and decrease those here on our campus. And really a great team of people who've been working strategically to think about how do we best serve our population of first gen students by making data informed decisions, right? That can allow us to have continuous improvement. So thinking about this council as a whole, right? It is composed of a really diverse group of individuals. In the last year, I've stepped up into the chair position and really wanted to be intentional about making sure there's representation from every single academic college and every single unit, from financial aid to student affairs, specifically from Office of Diversity and Inclusion, also having representation from athletics, right? So really wanted to be mindful and make sure that when we talk about first gen students are everywhere. They're not in a specific bucket. They're not in a specific classroom. They're everywhere. So how can we best support our first gen students? And that's with having everyone at the table, to be able to think intentionally and truly put the needs of these students first. And so, really wanted to construct a group and a body of individuals that were able to truly take first gen shockers, and find a way to really make some brand new initiatives on this campus, that would be long lasting. And so I feel like we've been able to do that. One of the really cool things, is that WSU, has been selected for a First Forward designation. So this is a body of institutions that have really taken first gen and made it a priority on their campus and are doing some really amazing things. And so being able to have that designation, being able to be a part of NASPA and really to dig into that work and having some really great individuals and colleagues on this campus that are truly championing this work, I'm really excited about. So having someone like Kim, who you saw earlier, being able to be a part of some of these crucial conversations, and most recently welcoming Dr. Brett Bruno to the Wichita State family as our AVP for student success and persistence. So it's been really great to be able to once again have a group of people, and not to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Sarah Mata and some of the great work that she's doing. But really being able to meet with other institutions to think, to collaborate, to find ways to continue to make sure we're providing an all-inclusive experience for our first gen students. This tells a little bit more about that designation. Another thing I really wanted to highlight and elevate is that this work is ongoing and it's continuously developing. As you all know, the types of students that we're attracting are looking very different, right? We have first gen students who are coming from diverse backgrounds. We've created opportunities here at Wichita State to truly expand, the types of students that we have in our classrooms. And I think about that and the needs, how they're ever changing. We have a large percentage of our first generation students who are returning adult. So they're not your traditional college students. So how do we best meet their needs as well? Thinking more recently about how do we serve our online population of first gen students. So there's so much work to be done, and being a part of this great organization and at least having this designation puts us in a position to be able to think about some of those things more thoroughly. One of the things that's really cool here is this constellation support. And one of the visuals I want to bring up here in a moment is finding a way, when you think about a campus of our size, about over 16,000 students at this point, and having some of the work of the first gen body being in the center. And what we really wanted to do is find a way to streamline and connect all of these amazing resources that we have on this campus, from the Office of Student Success and some of the great work that Office of Financial Aid does. And we have a really great scholarship, the Shocker Promise, that reaches more than just first gen students. However, first gen students have been able to really take advantage of that opportunity. Think about McNair Scholars Program. I've had the opportunity to work with one of the amazing McNair students over the summer with a research project specifically centered around first gen, and first gen opportunities, and how first gen students are connecting at other institutions similarly to that of Wichita State. And research has definitely shown us that students are more likely to stay somewhere if they feel connected. And so thinking about how do we find those ways to specifically connect to our students, having some amazing things like disability support services. I said earlier, we have a large percentage of returning adult students. So how does the Office of Adult Learning fit into this equation? Thinking about student affairs and the great work they do over there with a lot of our colleagues, and not only that, but student support services, Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and One Stop, which is our first year advising office. So once again, bringing in all of these units and areas and being able to connect at the work that they do, and having it be accessible for all of our students, and making sure that most importantly now, as we sit here and talk, that our families are a part of the conversation as well. So at this point, that's a brief overview of some of the work that we do here, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that I can, and I will open it to you all.
Thank you, Dr. Barry. It doesn't look like there's any comments from our viewers yet, but I wanted to talk through the process that you had mentioned. I think it's really important. There's been a shift in the culture on campus from students not knowing that they're first generation to celebrating the fact that they're
Yeah.
first generation. And what that means for our families is, it's okay if this process has been completely overwhelming to you because you never lived through that process yourself. You're not alone. Your students are not alone in, any of that. So it's important for our families to know that just because you may not understand the processes or you may not understand the experience that your student is going to live out, like, what do you mean the prereq to the thing to the fee to the extension to the applied learning to the degree? I don't
Right.
get
Yeah.
that all right. So there's really been a shift in this culture that's been really fun to be a part of. I don't know if you would add to that, but really wanted to underscore being first generation is a celebration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for highlighting that, Kim. And I think the narrative has changed, right? And we have really done some amazing things. I mean, Kim, you know better than anyone, as we think about summer experiences and launch programs and bridge programs, and how do we find ways early on to create a sense of community and sense of pride around being first gen. And I think some of the really cool things is that you're able to see someone like our provost, who is first gen herself. And we've been creating scholarships specifically centered around first gen students, and really thinking about how do we create a college experience that if you're the first in your family to be here, that this experience is memorable, this experience empowers you, this experience allows you the opportunity to build capital and really then open the door for many behind you. And so I really love the fact that we have elevated first gen in such a major way on this campus, and we will continue to do so. And I'm really excited about some of the things that we'll have coming forward. Cord ceremonies are now something that we do for our first gen students, which is really cool. Every spring, every fall, we have cord ceremonies, and most recently this past spring saw our highest number in attendance. So it's really nice to see the students even feeling celebrated in these moments as well.
Yeah. And I think too, when we're talking with students who are first generation, the amount of pride that they have, like, I am doing this for my family. I am doing this because it's something that somebody told me I wasn't going to be able to do. And I'm going to do this for not only myself, but then, what about my younger siblings? And I'm, paving this road for them. And so it's really fun to hear their stories and the pride that they have in themselves, because many of them have really shown that, they've been in circumstances that's not their fault, and they have excelled and they have exceeded everyone's expectations. And, they often have the most successful path and are most, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but I guess determined students that we want to celebrate, because they were able to really beat the odds, right? So maybe my community or my environment told me that I wasn't supposed to do well, but look at what I've been able to do and the people who were here to support me through that. So another thing I want to just push with the families that we have, the parents that are on at the program tonight, is maybe, not being familiar with where your student is kind of in their transition or how they're feeling on campus, right? So just another push, I would underscore, the importance and the intention that we put behind seeing you as a partner in this transition process. So if you have not signed up for that student affairs newsletter, or the Shocker family newsletter that comes out monthly, that is going to be a great guide for you. If you don't know the questions to ask, if you want to get more than one word answers from your kid in the basement, how was school today? Fine. How's it going? Good. What are some of those questions, or how can you ask some questions in a different way to potentially learn more about how you can support your student and what your student is doing and thinking about their own experience here at Wichita State. So just want to put a push in for families to stay connected with that newsletter, and then certainly get in touch with us if you have questions. Also wanted to speak a little bit about the work that the university's done with faculty. In terms of, Dr. Barry, you talked earlier about celebrating first generation faculty and staff. And they're really proud and they want to share their experience, like the provost, Dr. Lefevre, will be, I'm first gen, and she's one of the biggest champions on our campus for first generation students and what that means. But we've tried to really educate the faculty in, terms of how many students are first generation, and they can probably go in with some assumptions that a third to a half of the students in their classes are going to be first generation, which means they need to be in tune with some concepts like office hours. Means, what does that mean to a first gen student? Probably in a lot of their minds, time that I shouldn't bother them, they're doing research, they're in their office working. But changing the words around to say student hours, so that students understand this is time that my faculty are available to me, because I don't understand the term shouldn't take that opportunity away from someone making a connection with a faculty member. So we've done a lot of work. I don't know if you want us to elaborate on that at all, Dr. Barry, but trying to make sure that faculty understand the students who are in their classrooms a little bit better, and maybe what they're bringing into that dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, and it kind of just goes to even some of the work that's done on the council. So a decent portion of the individuals who are represented on the council are faculty members. So being able to be those liaisons, go back to their college leadership and be able to have some of those intentional conversations regarding student experiences in the classroom. Because if we know nothing else, in order for these students to truly get their degrees, they're going to be in the classroom in some shape, way, or form. So that experience is crucial, it's important, and it's valuable. And what we don't want is to create an environment where our first gen students, or any student at that point, don't feel acknowledged, seen, and heard. And so we really try to do our due diligence there to be able to provide those opportunities. We've had conversations recently with our HR about how do we potentially create additional offerings by way of opportunities for our faculty to be able to come together and learn even more about the first gen experience and how to be more knowledgeable about that in the classroom. So working on some of those pieces as well, though some of those things will take some time, but do know that is once again our priority here, as well as we continue in this work.
Yep, absolutely. And for a lot of our students, a majority of their time is spent in the classroom.
Right.
And unless they're, really getting connected and that, I would say even for some of our more connected students, the majority of their time is in the classroom. So the faculty and making sure that we're working with them and encouraging them to, put things in place in their classrooms that support students who maybe doesn't have, or they don't have the, the experience and the support at home because no one's lived through this process to guide them through that process. And also, encouraging them to ask for help when it might not be very cool to ask for help. They may not be used to they rely on themselves a lot for their own success, but, celebrating, thank you for asking, thank you for coming to our student hours, or thank you for requesting a tutor. This is really going to help you succeed in this class, or, overcome whatever, academic challenge, or work on your study skills, or whatever the case may be. So the other thing I wanted to just reiterate from something you said earlier, our first gen week and our first gen celebration day is in early November. That's a big month for us on campus because majority of our students are getting celebrated in some way. And so know that there's a large group of services and large list of resources your students can take advantage of. One of those that I wanted to highlight were our TRIO programs. So if your student, so tell us, go ahead, Dr. Berry, I'll turn it over to you to talk about a little bit of TRIO, and I'll insert anything that I think we might know. Yeah.
We have a lot of TRIO programs on this campus, and the amount of support that TRIO provides for our students is amazing. In fact, McNair's ties into that TRIO family, right? And we have Tri Alpha, which is a great organization to be a part of as well. When you think about even some of the research opportunities, like TRIO does an amazing job of exposing students to opportunities that they may not have felt empowered to do on their own. So being able to be able to work with these amazing individuals who have an understanding of what first gen needs are, because that is their mission, is to serve our first gen students, and being able to watch them do that work diligently. Their director, Ashley, who is one of the individuals that runs one of the programs. In addition to Rhonda Hicks, I believe, also is one of the champions on this campus that does some work for TRIO. Being able to come together and collaborate with them, provide these research opportunities. They have their symposium coming up here, I think next week. So really great to support them. And so what I really value and appreciate is that they specifically have grant funding to be able to assist these first gen students in any way, shape, or form, right? And it's wraparound services that they provide. And so I encourage any of you families who have the ability to be able to be a part of those programs. They, year after year, they are looking to continue to serve. And I think a lot of students just don't know these opportunities exist, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so once again, ask those questions, use this as a resource. We do have a First Gen Coordinating Council website that you can also be able to find some of that information. Another thing I want to highlight really quickly that I can't believe I haven't said already is our First Gen Student Organization. And so that's another great opportunity for your student to get plugged in. We have a really amazing First Gen Student Organization. We just inducted a brand new president most recently in spring. And I'm really excited to see some of the great work that she's going to be doing going forward this upcoming year.
And they've really grown and gained some momentum over the past couple of years in terms of, again, that celebration of their experience and really what they contribute to make our campus a lot better, right? So I
see a question.
Go ahead.
That I want to address. How do you know if you're first gen? What does that look like, right? By way of definition, it's if neither of your parents have attended and completed at a 4-year institution. And so that is the actual definition of, it's not just a Wichita State definition. That is the definition of being first gen. And we had to do quite a bit of education around that over the last few years, because a lot of individuals didn't even know. I didn't know I was first gen until I was literally on this college campus as a working professional, right? Because both of my parents attended community college and my sister went to college. So I just assumed, right, that I wasn't first gen, but neither of them completed a 4-year degree. And so by definition, I am also first gen. So great question, and thank you for that.
Yeah. That's a great point. So again, it goes back to parents or guardians do not have a 4-year degree. I was in the same boat. Didn't know that I was first gen until we started really talking about this on a university level, and I was like, no wonder my mom never understood what I was doing. It's like, oh, she still kind of doesn't, but it's fine. We've come a long way. So the other TRIO programs I wanted to highlight, just back to kind of go back to that discussion a little bit. There are 3 TRIO programs that serve our current students. One is the McNair Scholars Program, so very heavily into research and for students who are looking at post 4-year degrees, so master's and doctoral programs. That's their focus, is on that research. Connects students with a faculty member to support research and do these kind of experiences as an undergraduate. So a phenomenal experience there. Also TRIO Student Support Services and TRIO Disability Support Services. So typically students can qualify for those 2 programs. You do have to apply for those programs because you do have to meet certain criteria, typically first gen, maybe and or kind of a low income, maybe and or have a registered disability with either the TRIO office or our accessibility office. So it doesn't always, it usually is first gen, but then there's some other things that you may have to qualify for in order to be accepted into their program. But like Dr. Berry said, this is tutoring, this is mentoring, this is that wraparound support from the university. It's very intentional, it's very personal and individual, and we see a lot of success from the students coming out of those programs or who are participating in those programs. Your students might have been part of maybe a Gear Up program in high school or an Upward Bound program. It's a similar kind of student population that their mission is to serve. And so if they've been part of, we have a lot of students who are actually in talent search, maybe at the middle school level. So if any of those programs are familiar to you, have your students connect with our TRIO programs. If they're not sure, or if you're not sure what that is, you're welcome to contact our office or Alicia and let us know, hey, interested in getting more information, and we can connect you with those programs to see if you may qualify, because there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of support there. And, we see some really impactful experiences with our students. So great. Let's see here. So yes. So just because I see the other comment, yeah. Rayanne, yes, you came to orientation last week, and it was a lot of information. Yes, it was. We don't disappoint in the area of the amount of information. So you have a 2-year degree from a community college. Exactly. That was my mom and Dr. Berry's experience, call it community college, or my mom came to Wichita State when you went to college to be a secretary. And then she had 2 years in the Barton School of Business, and she became a secretary. And that's what she did. She was a secretary, right? So she knew shorthand, and that's how she, did our Christmas lists at home, because shorthand, we couldn't read it and we didn't know, but it was right there. And that was a mean trick that she did on us. But that's what she did. So your student would certainly qualify to be first gen. Absolutely, Rayanne. All right. So I think that is the only other comment in there. Dr. Berry, do you have any closing remarks that you want to leave us with tonight?
Yeah, just one. And one of the things that you elevated in my mind is first gen students are going to need different levels of support throughout their time here, right? To truly be able to be successful, what a first gen freshman needs very different than a first gen sophomore, junior, and or senior and or grad student, right? So, as your student is coming into this university, do know that we're thinking about that journey for them. We want to walk alongside them as they navigate through Wichita State. And so just do know that there is a team of many people on this campus that are here for your student.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Especially for those coming from long distances, they're going to need those support networks. So great way to plug in. Okay, I think that is our last question and comment, but we always have a winner among our parents of Shocker swag that Alicia finds in her office somewhere. I don't know what that prize may be, but our prize winner tonight is Sarah Zuberbuehler. I think I did your name correct. So Sarah, congratulations. You've won some free Shocker stuff. We will get that mailed to you in here pretty soon. It'll probably go out in the next week once Alicia gets back to the office. So I know she hated to miss tonight, but she is on vacation. So good for her. She needs a break before we all start the semester. We have all taken breaks at different points, and as I said, fall is coming up quick. So we thank you for joining us tonight. I'm going to look one more. Yep, doesn't look like we have any more questions. So thanks for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. Dr. Berry, thank you for your time tonight. As always, if you have questions about Wichita State or about your, how we can partner to support your student, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you. So have a good night, everyone.